Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Tim, so good to have you here, brother. How are you?
I am very well. Got another sparring session in this morning, got one in yesterday. And I'm just loving being back in the gym, working out, pushing myself. Obviously, last week was the first week back from Iceland. So I was back in the gym then. But you know what it's like after a few weeks off, everything's creaking, weakness. It's just awkward. So week two, I'm getting back in my groove. It feels great. Um, it's just fascinating, isn't it, how it impacts the mind as well. Amelia said to me, "You've been a bit defensive lately." I'm like, "What, really?" And then after working out this week, I just feel the difference. Just absolutely feel the difference. It's fantastic. I love it. So I'm doing well. What about you?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I'm a little tired. Wife and I went out. Tuesday is our date day, so we do it during the day so we can put the kids to bed, young little guys. And had a few too many glasses of wine with the wife, so both of us are a little slow this morning. The kids woke up in the middle of the night too, so doing the dad thing, but also my wife and I had some really tough conversations, but some great ones. And I'm always grateful for the tools that we teach and have learned here at the Powerful Man because I was able to apply them to these conversations. Ended up having a great night. Kind of made some lemonade out of those lemons. Just unfortunately, we put some vodka in that lemonade, and now I'm feeling the ramifications of it.
I was going to say it's a good problem to have, right? Waking up with a foggy head after a good date day. Um, that's great.
Yeah, in terms of problems, yeah, I'll take this one every time. But nonetheless, still feeling just a little bit slow.
I spoke to one of the guys on the team today, and he's in Amsterdam following his favorite football team. So instantly, you know what it is. And
Yep.
it was, I think, 10 a.m. and he had a gin and tonic. I was like, oh my God, I do not envy you right now. He's like, no, I feel like crap. I was up late last night. I'm like, oh my God, 10 a.m. and you're on the gin and tonic with your full English breakfast. Like, those days are long gone for me.
well,
Long
well, that guy
gone.
that guy seems to do it all the time too. I don't know how he does it. It's absolutely amazing.
He's yeah, I think it's starting to wear on him too. He's like, I can't do this. I think the days of me going to away games and following my sports team around, because typically the away games are the raucous ones, right? All the boys get together, they travel in, it's an overnight. It's more of an adventure, whereas the home games, you drive, you're back home, you don't really drink because you're driving, that kind of thing. But he was saying, you know what? I think it might be a little bit past me now. I think I might be over this. I might have to reconsider how often I do these because I just can't keep up.
Well, I mean, it's a good point. And it's kind of what I came to this morning. And it brings me to this podcast topic. It's, what you're doing isn't working. And we hear this a lot. And for myself, transparently, I woke up upset at myself because, I wanted to wake up feeling fresh and alive and great. And now, granted, I had a great night last night. And what I'm doing isn't working, and just hoping things are going to change on their own without me taking action or holding myself accountable to him, it's never going to change, right?
Hmm.
Because just like a hangover, which everybody listening to this has probably had, you're actually going to have, it's going to be in that matter of days before you forget about that pain of the hangover, right? And then for this guy you're talking about, or for me, another date night's going to come, and we're going to have a good time, open a bottle of wine, and one more glass will be fine. Yeah, you know what? Just a little bit more, it'll be good. I'll go to bed early. Not a problem. I can handle it. And then next thing you know, you wake up. For me, it's around 4:30 in the morning, and you're going, "Oh man, I feel like crap." And I did this again. Now, how many times have us as men, said this to ourselves,
Mm.
and a little bit of shame and guilt of, "Wow, I did it again." And what I want to talk about though is for a lot of men, this shows up in their businesses and in their relationships as well. And in the point of marriage, I was talking to a guy, Tim, just yesterday, amazing man that I'm working with. And one of the things he told me is before he joined The Powerful Man, he thought things would just change. Now, we're talking almost 10 years of this, 10 years of just hoping things would get better, hoping his wife would wake up, hoping things would change and she would finally realize how amazing he is and give him the respect, give him the appreciation for all the hard work, for the things that he'd built for him and his family. And he was just hoping it would be better. And guess what? It didn't. It didn't until he actually put in the work. And just like me feeling like crap today, it's not going to change if I do the same thing and just hope it gets better unless I hold myself accountable to a higher standard. Right. And part of that could be, well, talking about it now. Now, you guys listening to this, you can hold me accountable. You, Tim, you can hold me accountable. And then I can change a pattern, right? If it's a pattern that's occurring in my life, I now have the power and the responsibility to take action and change that if it's not working for me.
Yeah, I reminds me of a guy I spoke with yesterday. His wife had filed for divorce, but in the state that he's in, there's a 90-day cooling off period where
Yeah.
nothing can happen. So what he's hoping is that during those 90 days, she changes her mind. Because what he said was, if she changes her mind, then it makes sense for me to invest in this. And I know that it's a good time for me to then make a change. I'm not going to be with her. I'm going to be out of state for those 90 days, to which I said that's a great thing because of mystery, desire, imagination being one of the, woman's biggest sex organ. There's so many things you can do by not being there physically to stoke that fire. And I gave him all the examples of all the men that have been in that position, that have used the text game, Franco's text game, that we give as one of the bonus trainings in the activation method. And it's gone from no contact to a peak of curiosity to, hey, let's just grab a random FaceTime, to having another FaceTime, to being able to then send flowers randomly and they'll be received. So then all of a sudden, he's saying, hey, why don't you come back and just visit for a night? And it goes on. But point being is what that guy was doing isn't working. He's going to sit, he's going to wait, he's choosing not to take action. He's choosing to follow a plan. It's not really a plan. I mean,
It's hopium.
yeah, I know he thinks it is, and this isn't any disrespect to the guy, but if you're listening, and I said this to you yesterday, you don't have a plan. The plan of sitting and waiting around with something that's completely out of your control, your wife, is just it's just not going to work. Um, but yeah, to your point, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, Doug, yeah, things just don't change. You've got to be able to notice it. This is why we give the men the coil with the weekly review so they can reflect and really make sure that what they're doing is working. They get a weekly score. They go through the wins, the lessons, their improvements, and they get to focus on the wins so they're in singles so they can strengthen that muscle. But equally, they can course correct because it's not about being perfect. We always say the journey is the destination. And that way, you're surrounded by a community of men as well, where they can hold each other accountable. You and I get to hold each other accountable, which is great. You gave me the permission the other day to hold you even more accountable. So I replied with a thank you for that. So thank you again for that, just publicly. But I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. First of all, I don't remember giving that permission, but we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, the coil is amazing. The coil is, for those that don't know, that aren't in the movement, it's the chart of intentional living. We call it the coil for short, just for clarity there. But, I've been in this situation, Tim, where you just hope things are going to get better. You're like, okay, well, next time I won't do that dumb thing. Or, you know what? I know when I was in the throes of my relationship with my wife, I was hoping that she would just wake up and realize, how good she had it, how amazing I am. All of these things that the other guys think too. Right. And that's that hopium that gets us caught because really nothing changes. We're hoping that by some miracle of God or otherwise, that, divine intervention is going to happen and somebody's going to step in, or really what we're hoping is our wife is going to wake up. She's going to make all these changes. And the truth is we as men get to lead that. We have to lead ourselves. Leadership within ourselves first, then within our family. And so often, at least for me, what happened is when I actually started working a plan, coming up with what we teach now in the activation method, and started applying these things to my life, my wife did change. She did start to appreciate me more. She did start to look at me with that love and respect in her eye. And it wasn't because I waited. It was because she saw me take massive action and actually do something about it. Now, the same thing, I'm going to use the same principles or the same philosophy to me feeling like crap this morning. Because the truth is, yeah, it's not a big deal, right? You wake up, you don't feel quite the same. I had a coaching call this morning with one of our great guys, also from Leeds, an amazing man. And, it went really well. Nobody would know if I didn't tell them. However, I know, right? And
Mm.
I wasn't as good of a father as I could have been to my little kids. And that kills me. As a man, that as a father, that bugs me. I wasn't as present with my wife this morning. We usually flirt in the morning, I start, as guys know, you want to start flirting, early in the morning if you want to have some fun in the bedroom later at night. And not that that's all it's about, but I wasn't on top of my game. And for me, I've made a commitment to not do that. And I crossed that barrier. So you have to have a plan, guys. So I get to put a plan in place for myself, right? Which I used to have an alarm on my phone, 7 p.m., no alcohol past 7 p.m. at all, right? And I didn't last night because we're having a great conversation. Great bottle of wine was opened. That's kind of that bottle you save, so to speak. And it was amazing. And yeah, I wanted another glass, and one glass begets another, begets another. Uh, but you got to have a plan there. And when you're looking at a business, for the men that listen to the show, most are business owners. When you look at your business, if you go and look at your accounts receivable or your cash, your bottom line, your EBITDA, whatever you're looking at, if it's below where it should be, you come up with a plan to get it back, whether it's increasing sales, marketing, maybe it's fulfillment. You're going to develop a plan to get things back in order. So why aren't you doing this with your marriage?
Yeah, it's interesting. Breaking promises to yourself is one of the most harmful things you can do, right? Because if you can't trust your own word, you know the truth. And then this is why we speak to the men about hitting singles, right? That's why the coil is designed in the way it's designed, because when you do break those promises and you don't really acknowledge that things aren't working, impacts your self-esteem, impacts your self-image. The next time you say you're going to do something, you doubt yourself. But am I really going to do it? That little
Yeah,
seed of doubt is there, and that's not a great place to start from, right? Whereas the flip side can be true. Whereas you can actually, when you say you're going to do something, have the excitement and the confidence and the certainty, knowing that you're going to follow through because that's your track record.
it's very true. And you got to have that. And that plan begets that confidence, and that confidence begets and allows you the ability to take leadership back in your marriage and regain control. Go from DEAR, which we use as an acronym, guys, which is DEAR is an acronym for defend, excuse, explain, react. So go from that place to a wolf, which is wise, open, loving, and fierce. But to be the wolf, right? If you're watching the logo, the poster that's over Tim's left shoulder, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, go to YouTube, you can check it out. But that logo, that wolf represents what we as men want to be. And also that wolf has a plan. That wolf is going to have a plan to protect his pack, to protect what he's built. And if it's in your area of your business, guys, you need a plan to get yourself out of the situation you're in. We all know there's uncertain times coming, right? So you have to have a plan. How are you going to navigate these waters? If you don't have a plan, then you are planning to fail in your marriage. If you don't have a plan, a methodology, or something that you can do to get yourself reactivated in your marriage, then your plan is to fail, right? That's just the truth, guys. Um, you know, I always say in coaching, whenever I coach the guy, I say, look, my job is just to tell you the truth. I will be the guy to tell you that you look fat in the jeans if you ask me. I'm not going to lie to you. And so, guys, I'm shooting you straight. If you do not have a plan that you are following to get your business back on track, you need to get one immediately. If you do not have a plan that you are following, right, to get your marriage back on track, even if it's good, you deserve greatness, right? What is your plan? What methodology, what proven plan are you following today?
Yeah, I'm listening to a book right now. I spoke to you about this before we jumped on, called Good to Great. It's one of the great business books, right, by Jim Collins.
Yep.
It's amazing. Um, one of the points in there from going from good to great and what these great companies did over the decades is face the brutal facts.
Yeah.
Face the brutal facts of reality. And I think so often guys can easily fall into the trap of either surrounding themselves with people who are not going to be honest with them, who are kind of like yes men, who don't tell them that they look fat in those jeans, and they're able to get away with ignoring the brutal facts of reality, and they're able to get away with not having a plan and not really owning the fact that what they're trying isn't working. And at the same time, I think it's quite easy to fall into the trap of then surrounding yourself with people who just aren't playing at the level you want to play at. And naturally, you and I were speaking to a friend of ours last week. We've spoken about this friend previous, and he works with billionaires and world class athletes and otherwise. And he said, "Look, the most powerful thing in anyone's performance is environment. Environment is key. It trumps everything. And therefore, if the environment that you're in is one where you're surrounded by people that are playing at a lower level than you, then again, it makes it easy for you to ignore the brutal facts of reality and lie to yourself and pretend that it's okay that you don't have a plan. When in reality, I mean, I always like to say, what advice would you give your kids? Right? Typically, if your kids were wanting to achieve something or strive for something to get a job or a profession, right? You'd lay out a plan for them. Let's say they had a passion for computers, you'd start to get them into coding, and you might talk about where this could lead. It's a plan. So if it's good enough for your kids, then why would it not be good enough for you?
That's a very good point. So, gentlemen, if what you're doing isn't working, whether it be in the area of self, health, wealth, relationships, or business, you need to come up with a plan today, right? We're already here. When you're watching this, it's going to be Halloween in the US and the States. And, kids are going to be out trick-or-treating. Next thing you know, it's Thanksgiving. Next thing you know, it's Christmas, right? Then it's 2023. What is your plan, guys? What is your plan for Q4 right now, today? For me, I'm going to set some alarms and have people keep me accountable to make sure I don't go for that extra glass of wine, so I can wake up in the morning feeling fresh and free, and I can be that amazing father that I know that I am, the amazing husband that I know that I am, the amazing coach that I know that I am, right? That I can perform at the top of my game, because being good enough isn't good enough for me. And what about your marriage, right? Do you have a plan or a methodology? If not, I invite you to check out the activation method. It is our proven methodology that takes men from deactivated to activated within their marriage in a very short period of time. So I highly recommend checking that out. You can go over to thepowerfulman.com. You can get more information on that. You can speak to one of our advisors. No obligation. Just see if it's the right fit for you. But whatever you do, have a plan, have a methodology that's proven track record that you can take out, and make sure you also have accountability. Because as strong as a man that you are, we're all just humans, right? We all are humans, and we all going to falter from time to time. So get that accountability, get the plan, and then take some massive action. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, WOLF is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here, so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action, go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.